this problem is one of the examples we're talking about. X inside a radical, X outside a radical. Ones where you need to check your answers at the end. You could have an extraneous solution. Right here we have our variable X inside of a radical. Equation is much simpler if you get rid of radicals, so we'll square both sides. Square root and a square root cancel, we get 3x plus 7 equals squaring a binomial. And it's not x squared plus 1. You don't just distribute the exponent. Bad math. Distributive property. X minus 1 times x minus 1. You get x squared. Minus 1x minus another 1x minus 2x. Plus 1. Oil. Distributive property. And from last semester, you recognize, or you better recognize, x squared, x to the first, you need to know, okay, got to factor. If you want to factor everything, you need to be on one side of the equation. So let's subtract 3x, subtract 7. Negative 2 minus 3, negative 5. 1 minus 7, negative 6. Ooh, that looks good. I recognize that one. That factors. One times negative 6 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. X equals negative 1. X equals 6. Need to check your answers. Make sure that they are worked. Here, check. X equals negative 1. Back to the original equation. Negative 1 minus 1. Okay, I'll put a question mark because we're checking to see if it works. We don't know. Question mark. So this would be the square root of 4. Does that equal negative 2? Square root of 2, or does 2 equal negative 2? Negative 1 is not a solution. Check x equals 6. So square root of 25 equals 5, and yes, it does. So x equals 6 is a solution. Root. You cancel a square root by squaring. So multiply by 2, or 1, I guess. You got to raise both sides of the equation to the second power. Square it as a binomial or parentheses. Do not square them individually. Just cancel. 5x minus 4 equals, just like previous problem, distributive property, x squared plus 2x plus 1. Remember, you got to be thinking about when you're using absolute value and when not just guessing. You only use an absolute value if you take an even root. We squared both sides. We didn't take the square root. We squared, no absolute value. Just like last problem, x squared, x to the first, got a factor. So let's subtract 5x, add 4. Any mistakes? Did we do that right? No mistakes, right? Pause the video. All right, we did the wrong problem. We blamed Parker. He told me the wrong problem. All right. So again, we want to square and get rid of this radical. It's a lot easier to square if we add this x to the other side of the equation. If we squared this side of the equation right now, we have to square using distributive property foiling. No good. So add x first. Okay. Now we square both sides. The radical will be gone. So times 2, and it's squaring over here. We get 5x minus 4 equals x squared. Recognize you have x squared, x first, got a factor, get all terms on one side. I'm going to subtract 5x, add 4. This will factor. Minus 4 and minus 1. X equals 4 and x equals 1. Check our answers. Check when x equals 4. This would be 20 minus 4. 16, so it's 16 to the 1/2 power minus 4. Does that equal 0? It becomes 4 minus 4 is 0, so yes, 0 equals 0. 4 is a solution. And let's check when x equals 1. Minus 4 is 1, so it's 1 to the 1/2 power minus 1. Does that equal 0? The square root of 1 is 1. Minus 1 is 0. So equals 0. So they both work. Both are solutions. Right now you might be thinking, what? We just checked for nothing. You said check the answers, but they both work. Well, you got to make sure. It's like going to the doctor. Hey, doc, my arm hurts. I think it might be broken. Feels it? No, it's not broken. Well, you sure? Well, I could take an x-ray, but we'll just assume it's not broken. Go out there, play football. Probably wanted to check. Pause video. PowerPoint needs to be updated a little bit. Two more problems. Yeah, 2 more. Stop. Reset. Again, solving for x. Both sides are raised to the 1/2 power, which means both sides are really square roots. Isolate square roots, square both sides. So this is going to work out really nicely. And when we're multiplying the exponent by 2, it's the same thing as squaring. 1/2 times 2 is 1. We get 2x equals x plus 5. Don't even think about absolute values, only if you are taking a square root or raising to a power with a denominator that is an even root, even power. We get x equals 5. Check our answer. See, 2 times 5 is 1/2 power. Does that equal 5 plus 5 to the 1/2 power? So it's 10 to the 1/2 of the square root of 10 equals 10 to the 1/2 of the square root of 10. Yes, it works. And we got one more. Pause the video. Again, solving for x, we got a situation here. We got 2 separate radicals with variables in it. Not good. And we know squaring will cancel out a radical. However, if you square this binomial the way it is right now, we'll just make a simple one off the side. You can write this down or you can just watch. Let's say I had the square root of x minus the square root of y equals, I don't know, 2. And okay, I'm going to square to get rid of the radicals. Well, you can't just distribute the square. You must square like this, distributive property. Square that. So you get radical x times radical x is x. And you get radical y times radical y is y. But then you'd have radical x times radical y, which is plus radical xy, plus another radical xy, and then it starts looking really messy. So you don't want to do that. I'm going to split them up. So I'm going to add radical x inside. So radical 5 minus x over here, radical x plus 1 right side. So now when we square the left side of the equation, we'll simply just get 5 minus x. That looks nice. When we square the other side of the equation, we're going to have to distributive property, but you should prefer to do it that way than to deal with 2 radicals at one time. So now let's square both sides. Or when you square, you must square the quantity. Distributive property. Love distributive property. Early in the morning, afternoon, doesn't matter. Love it. Square root of x times square root of x is x. Square root of x times 1 is square root of x. And then we have another one, right? Distributive property. So it's plus 2 radical x. 1 times 1 is 1. FOIL. All right, so I think right now, ooh, it's not that nice. It's not easier. Let's see, 5 minus x, oh, radical x. We have another radical. So we need to isolate our equation and get the radical by itself. That way we can square again. So let's subtract x, subtract 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. Negative x minus 2x equals 2 rad x. Okay, so you actually got options. This isn't too bad. Since these are both even numbers, we can divide by 2 first, or we can square both sides right now. What do you guys want to do? I need some suggestions. Oh, Parker.
Divide by 2.
Parker, what do you want to do? Divide by 2 or what?
I said divide by 2.
All right. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 1 is, or 2 is 1. Minus x equals radical x. All right, that worked out nicely because they're both divisible by 2. If they weren't both divisible by 2, probably square both. We don't want square root of x, we want x squared. X equals distributive property. Love distributive property. Again, how many times do you do distributive property more than once in a problem? Lucky. Great problem number 41. You could see this problem again. Hint, hint. You could see this problem again. Minus 4x plus x squared. That's usually when you put like a big star in your notes. Oh, test.
Oh boy.
Finish up here. Again, x squared, x, we got a factor, all terms on one side. We got x squared. I'm subtracting x over here. Minus 4x, minus another x, minus 5x. Plus 4 equals 0. That looks familiar. I think if you rewind your video, you might see this problem again. Or see the same one. X equals 4, x equals 1, pause the video. 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. 1 minus 2 equals 1? What? No, 4 is not a solution. Check. X equals 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. Quiet. 2 minus 1 equals 1. Yes. 1 is a solution, 4 is not a solution. Super good problem. Thanks for watching this video.
Subscribe.
Alright guys, thanks for putting up with me while I said to make that video. That way classes tomorrow will be prepared. Turn the video off.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel.